we were flipping or keeping 9 out of every 10 properties. And so when the market changed and they started jacking up interest rates, the Boise market went down from its peak like 28% on price. So
Goodness.
we were left with a lot of flips that all of a sudden we're going to lose a significant amount of money on, right? And
Yeah.
so that's a moment where we pivoted to wholesaling and doing a lot more creative finance deals to then keep the revenue coming in and make up for some of those losses. But like,
Mhm.
if I had had a good market and gotten lucky for the first 5 to 10 years and then had 60 flips going on at one time when that happened, can you see where I'm going with that?
Welcome to the Unknown Options, the place where we explore the unknown options. My name is Will, and today I have with me Ryan. Ryan, it's great to have you here. Your journey is important, so we want to highlight the good, the bad, and the ugly. For someone who might not know, what is real estate investing?
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Yeah. Real estate investing is really just the most proven path to financial freedom and to accumulate wealth. So when we talk about real estate investing, it's real estate is just the vehicle, right? There's a lot of different ways to make money, to build wealth, but real estate has tax advantages, cash flow, appreciation, loan pay down, leverage. You can make money. It's a hedge against inflation. You can make up money so many different ways versus like just buying a stock or investing in a 401k or I don't know, loaning your friend money, things like that. Like real estate just has so much power behind wealth creation, and that's why the wealthiest people in the world own a crap load of real estate.
Definitely, I understand. I definitely agree. Um, I want to go back. I'm not sure how far back for you, but how did you get started in real estate investing?
Yeah, so it really came out of pain and uncertainty in my life. Like, and pain and uncertainty is relative for most people, right? So like relative for everybody.
Yeah.
My upbringing, I was upper middle class. Like I didn't struggle a ton, you know?
Mhm.
So keeping that in perspective, like I really had it great, but I wasn't exposed to other avenues of like making money, like starting a business. It was very much like go to school, go to a really good school, go get a job, and then just climb the corporate ladder. Like that's what you're supposed to do. That's a great life. That's a wealthy life. That's how you make a lot of money.
Mm.
That's what I was taught, right? And that's what the same rich dad, poor dad concept. So I was an engineer
Cool.
and I got laid off. I graduated and I worked really hard. I went to a small engineering school that was like a big sacrifice. There wasn't a ton of partying or any of the fun stuff that people do at big state schools. And when I graduated, I had got a great job in downtown Denver and I was loving it. And then I got laid off like within 2 years. And I was like, what the hell is this? Because I just spent like all this time and
Yeah.
effort to get this thing that now they can just like tell me that I'm gone and now I don't have any paycheck. Like, what is this? Like, I didn't even know that that kind of stuff happened or could happen.
Mm.
So, um, the best things in life though come out of those painful moments and moments of uncertainty. Because, like, if you're whatever happens to you in life, if you have a moment like that, it's going to feel really crappy in the moment, but every time that I've had a failure or what's felt like a failure, it's really propelled me into that next thing. And then I look
Mm.
back and I'm like, dang, thank God I got laid off because now I'm a full-time real estate investor and just, own a seven-figure business that pumps out off-market deal after off-market deal and just have this huge wealth creation engine going for me. And that never would have happened if I didn't get laid off. I would have stayed comfortable. I would have stayed in that corporate job
Definitely.
with the golden handcuffs. So it's really a blessing in disguise, and that's how a lot of things happen in life.
Definitely. I love that. You said a lot right there. And I want to, before we go further in the interview, I want to break down or I want to ask some questions on what you said.
Yeah,
Before you said you grew up in like maybe a upper middle class
yeah,
home. a lot of my audience is probably middle class or lower middle class. So
Yeah.
can you highlight maybe some of the pros that came with you growing up in that atmosphere, and then some of the cons? Because some people have the impression that it's all good in a certain class, no matter what class it is. So can you harp on those for if you can?
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that your floor of like what like it doesn't if you're in a middle class or upper middle class family, your version of bad isn't really that bad, right?
Mm,
And so your floor is elevated. Like you always have food on the table, there's electricity, you have a place to stay. You don't have to worry about basic human necessities. And so all your time, energy, attention, and focus can be spent on things that you actually want to do as as you're growing up, and you don't have to worry about all that extra stuff. You maybe like, but it really you make your own luck at the same time. Like
mm,
I worked a job every single summer, even though I didn't have to, but because my parents told me that's like that's what you need to do. Like your upbringing and how you were raised molds you into someone with a certain type of values or someone with like a victim mindset. And
mm,
so I'm not saying that, um, you know, like starting in an upper middle class family, your floor is higher, but it doesn't mean you're completely susceptible to um, catalysts that'll like not boost you into the next thing. Like a great example of this, we all know the rich kids that
yeah.
like are trust funds and they get everything that they want. And then they have their very first failure in the real world and they lose it. Like they completely, they don't get a job. Like, they just sit on their ass and they don't do anything. And it's because they have never dealt with failure. And so I think if you're in that lower middle class or lower class, or man, if you're just struggling to get by, like that failure, man, is powerful. Like
Mm,
use that failure. That stuff is going to build. I know it's hard to see past a week or a month when you're in that state. It's probably impossible, right? But you just got to build on those small wins. And the small wins over a decade, 2 decade, 3 decades gets you to exactly where you want to be. So I don't know if any of that helps, but I do think, yeah, I'd be lying if I said I didn't have to worry about the basic things. Um, the thing that comes with an upper middle class family too is like the expectations can be pretty high. So
mm,
they kind of like your parents, they sometimes if they didn't accomplish something in their life, then they want to project that on you to be that version of you,
yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, they didn't get that degree, or they didn't get that master's, or they didn't get that job, or they didn't live in that city or have this house or whatever. And so then their version of success becomes you. And so
Mm,
everything that they want, or like the sports star, right?
yeah.
We all know those over aggressive helicopter parents that like they just raise their kid to be a just an athletic machine in one sport
Yeah.
and to be the next Tom Brady or Michael Jordan or whatever. And it's
Yeah.
just so dumb. But
And it never works out, and you made a really good example of the rich kids. It also happens in like the lower class. I know some people that were like they had helicopters parents. They thought that the sports was going to bring them out of that and that atmosphere, that environment, and then they got injured, and then like 20 years later, that person, because all they did was sports, they didn't pay attention in school, they didn't have any entrepreneurial habits, all they knew was sports. They got injured, and that failure cost them quite literally their life. Like, it's like, you
yeah,
know what I mean? So,
for
yeah,
real. But that is just a small, when you think about that, I know it's hard when you're young, but that's just a small sliver of time in your life. And like bad things happen to good people and good things happen to bad people. Like we don't have total control over what happens to us, but we have total control about what our actions are and our attitude on a daily basis. So,
definitely.
if there's one thing I can really highly recommend to all your listeners, it's a book called The Millionaire Mind. And it talks all about how your relationship with money and how you were raised in that environment now dictates like your decision making. Why don't you want to go apply to more jobs or less jobs? Why do you think that you should earn this, but you're just earning this? And the understanding of all that, it unpacks all of that. And it gave, when I read that, I was like, oh, this is why I behave like this, or this is why when money gets brought up, this is how I think about it. And I think that like that's a really good step one book for your listeners to dive into, and it'll bring them a lot of clarity.
Okay, awesome. I'll
Yeah,
put that in the thumbnail.
it's
Now I
called
want to.
Secrets of the Millionaire Mind.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Secrets in your mind. Okay. I wanna do a deep dive now. I know you said you run a seven figure business. Most people never never achieve seven figures in their lives. You have a seven figure business. Can you tell us like first? I know you were an engineer. You got fired, and that gave you the passion or the fuel to get to where you are now. But can you maybe walk us through like your first deal, or maybe not even your first deal, but how you got to your first deal, and then how that deal turned into a business? If that makes sense.
Sure. So, um, man, the power of like your inner circle and the people that it's so true. You are the average of the five people you spend the most time with. And if you're not in like a circle or environment where you have people that are challenging you to be the best version of yourself, or even doing something big, um, like you're just never going to be exposed to it. And so, like for me, I didn't even know that sales existed, or like tech sales existed, or these higher paying professions where those guys make the big bucks because they bring in revenue. And I was just in this engineering job, which was more or less like an hourly job where like I got paid for my time. And if I brought in great results, then I got paid the same as if I brought in not so great results. It was just like that's kind of the way it was. And so um, having that pain of that layoff like actually forced me to start looking into other things and start doing some research and talking to more people about like what should I do next, because I was like 23, 24 years old, like just what the heck am I doing? I don't even know what to do next. Like, should I still be an engineer? Should I go like try to open a window washing business? Should I,
Mhm.
like, there's so many different options, and that trigger to get curious is what starts that evolution in your mindset. And so that's where
Mhm.
I ultimately found Bigger Pockets, which was
Okay.
a real estate website. Um, and that's how I started getting curious about real estate. And I was like, wait, so you're saying if I can either find a deal or keep one of these deals and it spits out like a couple $100 a month after all expenses from the rent, like a rental property, then I would only need like 10 of those to just quit my job and like live comfortably for a while. Or at the very least, like I'd be able to quit my job. That sounds
Mhm.
like the most awesome thing ever. Should I look into this more? Um, and that's just like the wheels started turning for me, and it was a multi-year process. Like from where I was doing my engineering job, it was like 2 or 3 years of me researching before I even took action. And then it took me like a solid 8 to 10 months, 12 months of action before I started seeing results. And then
Mhm.
from there is like another 5.5 years to where the business is now. And so I think most people underestimate what they can accomplish in 5 years, but overestimate what they can accomplish in 1 year. And expectation setting with yourself is everything. Like if you tell yourself this is going to take me 5 to 10 years, but then I'll have anything that I want in my life after that, it's a little bit different than someone like, well, let me try this for a couple months. Like I see that all the time from my students that I coach. Like they'll inquire, they'll be like, well, I kind of want to try this for a couple months. It's like, well, then you're not going to succeed. Like you gotta do this until you fail or until you succeed. There's no trying anything. If you're trying something, you're just looking for that easy button, that let me work at this for like a month or two, and then if I get the results, then I'll keep going. That's not how winners think. That's not how successful people operate. They put in years of
Mhm.
work. They're completely dedicated to their craft. Um, so that's the truth is there's just a lot of bad expectations setting out there. And I think social media has a lot to do with that instant gratification type of mindset. So yeah, I can sit here and say, sure, now I got a 7-figure business, but it came after like really like 2 or 3 years of research, another year of action taking, and then like 5 years of building stuff out, doing, working my engineering job and doing this, and then quitting, hiring, failing multiple times to get it where it is now. So it's a lot.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah.
So you said a lot, so I'm trying to see where I want to go with it. I think we should go with you working the engineering job and building. I guess building would be the correct term. The business. How did you manage? And maybe you have relationships on the side too. I think you're married now, so maybe like with your wife or maybe girlfriend. How did you manage the time between your engineering job, which is a very hard job, you use your mind a lot, then building that business, and then managing relationships on the side as well?
Yeah. So ultimately, like, so this is the hardest exercise for people to do, right? And this changes multiple times in people's lives. But you got to sit down and you got to define what you want in life. And maybe that's what do I want for the next year? What do I want for the next 5 years? What do I want like in 20 years? And you got to get like to a real finite level with that. And I know that that sounds stupid and that sounds boring and that sounds like it's not going to actually produce anything, but I promise you if you go through that exercise, it's going to bring you closer to like what's actually important to you in life. Because some people, they just want to have, just enough, and they don't mind working till they're 60, and in a job. Maybe they're a technician, right? And they just like love working with their hands and they love what they do. And then they just want to work a 9 to 5, go home, and then retire somewhere, that's rural or not expensive, and have a couple kids and do that. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. But what I find is most people have never actually gone through the exercise because they don't feel empowered. Like, no, you can actually have the life that you want. If you're
Mm-hmm.
intentional about it and plan it out, you can actually live exactly the life that you want to live. And when you figure that out and when you actually believe that, a light bulb goes on, and then it's like, oh my gosh, I can have everything. It would just take this and this. So step one is just really defining like what you want. Where do you want to live? How much money do you want to make? When do you want to get married? Do you want kids? Do you not want kids? Do you want to travel? What's your vacation budget every year? How much do you want to eat out? Like,
Oh
define
man.
that, define that. And then you sit there and you say, so how could I do this? Okay, my 1 year plan is this. So how could I do that? And then you go do it. And you take the action and you fail forward to go do it. And if you don't do it, it means you don't really want it. And then you got to
Mm-hmm.
sit down again and be like, well, I didn't really want that because I'm not actually taking action. So what's going on here? Where am I off? You just got to get
Mm-hmm.
real with yourself, you know? Um, it's just like the same kind of thing where if you tell yourself, if you don't even keep promises to yourself, then you're not going to keep promises to your girlfriend, to a spouse, to a family member, or other areas that require your time. Like if you're telling yourself before you go to bed, I'm going to get up and go to the gym tomorrow morning early, and then you don't go, then what does that tell yourself? Well, I made a promise to myself and I didn't keep it. So now what I tell myself and my self talk isn't worth anything.
Mm,
That's what happens.
very
Instead of
true.
just being like, you know what? I don't want to work out tomorrow morning. I thought I did, but I'm not feeling like it. And so I'm just going to sleep in, and I'm okay with that. It's a totally different, like that subtle thing about being clear, just in daily habits about what you want and then matching it to an actual plan. It builds up confidence in yourself to go do stuff. So
Mm.
a lot of people don't even take the time to do that. They just end up, they're like 50 years old working a job and they're like, what, like, I hope I have
How
enough for retirement. Like,
How'd I
dude,
get here?
yeah,
It's
exactly.
it's scary. My mother, she's worked in finance for like 20, 30 years. She's 55, and she's like having that realization of now about like, whoa, retirement is scary. And I'm like, it's not. Well, it's scary for you because you're 55, but I've been trying to help her out. I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm trying to
Yeah.
give her venues. But it's like you said, it will creep up if you're not planning or failing forward. And I want to harp on something. I want to ask something. Essentially, you've talked about mental frameworks. Do you think like your engineering mind, or even like a college degree, because we have these like debates or discussions on this podcast? Did your college degree like help you develop that mental framework, or was it your your failures that helped develop that framework more so?
Um, yeah, my honest answer to that is I don't think everything happened for a reason for me, and
Mm,
so I'm not sure if I had gone through the college experience and failed. Like, I think I needed to do that because of how I
mm,
was raised. If I hadn't have done that and tested it out, I think I would have always wondered, like, oh, my parents always told me to do that, and that I should do that, and society tells me I should do that. So if I hadn't done that, I don't think I would have ended up with in the same position. However, if you weren't raised in that upbringing, like, I'm not a big fan of college. I
mm,
think I think for most people, unless you're going to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer, or something super technical that requires a lot of schooling for a reason, um, and that's like wholeheartedly what you want to do, I think college is a complete waste of time and money. You're so much better
mm,
off putting all that energy into trying stuff and failing. It's just like dating too, right? Like, most people don't get married to the first girl that they date. Why? Because they don't know what they want or don't want yet in a
mm.
partner. Like, the the only way you're going to figure out what you want in life, or what you want as a business or an entrepreneur, how much money you want to make, where you want to live, all these things, is to go try stuff.
True.
And it's really that simple. So I'm a huge fan of trying stuff and just failing forward. Like, I really don't think most people need to go to college or should go to college. I think most people now go to college because it's like the next thing,
Yeah.
and they just go for the wrong reasons. Like, most people don't even go for the right degrees. Like, I remember I was one of the few people that actually looked at what college cost,
Mm.
and then looked at what the average starting salaries for an engineer gets out of college, and looking at the math and being like, is this worth the time and effort?
Definitely.
Right? Most people just
Definitely.
go to go. It's a
Yeah.
social thing.
It is. Do you? Because I've had this. My first interview actually was a civil engineer. I went to school with him, and we talked about the only reason college is worth some of the money. And I want to say all of it is because you can develop a professional network. Would you say that's true, or would you?
I mean, my network is completely different than
True.
was in engineering. So no, I don't think that
Yeah.
that's. I mean, and your network changes. Like, the network that got you to one thing isn't the same network that's going to get you to the next thing, right? So
Very
your
true.
network changes over time. It evolves, just like your friends evolve over time. Like,
Mm,
you're probably not as close to your high school buddies as you were in high school or shortly after high school. Then you get college friends or friends later in life. Then you get young professional friends. Then you get like married couple friends and friends that have kids. Like, you slowly evolve in that, and the business side is no different.
That's a very interesting concept. I think I'm a little younger than you, so I'm still like I graduated college 3 years ago now. It's like I'm thinking that my college friends are gonna be friends for life. But now that you say that, I'm like, you're right. They're gonna. I'm not talking to them as much. Like we talk like once a year now. So you're right. You do evolve relationships, and like yeah, that's wild. Coming that's crazy. That's a really good point you made. Really good
Yeah,
point.
yeah. On a real level, though, too, like, the sooner, can I swear on this
Yeah,
podcast?
yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
The sooner that you can stop giving a fuck what other people think about you, the happier you're going to be, the more fulfilled you're going to be, and the more successful you're going to be. Bottom line, like,
Mhm.
you don't have to be an asshole to people, but if your friends that you grew up with or whatever, if they're not helping you be that next version of yourself, and they're not adding positivity to your life, and they're dragging you down, or they're asking negative questions, or I don't think you should do that, man. Or why would you even, that sounds stupid. Why would you do that? Like, those kind of comments are really dangerous. Like, you got to
Mhm.
get those people out of your life. And it's because they're coming from a good, like, they want what's best for you, but they want what's best for you in their version of what's best for you. They don't want
Mhm.
your version of what's best for you. So, um,
I heard I
that's
heard
hard, man.
I heard
That's
a quote. People always want you to be successful as long as you aren't more successful than them.
Yeah, that's true. And also, you should not take business, you shouldn't take okay, so here's a great example. You shouldn't take like physical fitness advice from a trainer that's fat,
Yes,
right?
very true.
You should not take business or entrepreneurship advice from someone that's less successful than you. You shouldn't take
Definitely.
financial advice from somebody that's not as wealthy as you, right? And so I think we kind of we have to be careful about that because we let people do that to us in other parts of our life.
Definitely, I agree. This has been a great conversation. I know we've already been over 25 minutes. I don't want to have you on here all night, so I'm asking you two questions about your business, and then we're gonna go into the not so speed round, which is obviously speed round. Um, I know what wholesaling is. I've done a good amount of deals, but can you? There's a lot of there's stigmas on wholesaling. Could you explain? Well, first, I guess first I should ask, what is like what is your business composed of? Like how many like if you do $1 million a year, like what does most of your business come from? And then we'll talk about that aspect rather than me just like saying like talk about this. That makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. So you're asking like what percentage of our business is wholesales?
Or I guess what part of your business? 'Cause I know you do a lot of creative finance deals too. What part of your business makes up the most revenue for your business?
Um, so it changes. I'll answer that. I'll try to be as short-winded as possible, but it changes as the market changes, right? So
Mm,
the whole reason that I got into wholesaling, which is really just the art of finding discounted properties, like wholesaling, it shouldn't be called that because wholesaling is just the exit strategy, right?
yeah.
Like you could flip it, you could keep it, you could rent it, you could Airbnb it, whatever. Um, but it really all starts with finding the deal. Like if
Mm,
you can, so what I was looking at is I was like, gosh, there's so many different things to do in real estate. Like there's a million different things to do in real estate, and that's one of the problems with it. So I was like,
mm,
well, you can't do anything else without the deal. Like it
yeah.
all starts with the deal. Like you can't flip nothing. You can't do a commercial asset if it doesn't have a deal. You can't get private money without a deal. You can't wholesale without a deal. Like it all starts with the deal. And so all my time, energy, and efforts was really just I'm going to go find these deals and I'm going to figure everything else out at the end. Like, so
Yeah.
now, because of what's happened in the market recently, we're wholesaling a majority of our stuff. But a year
Mm.
ago, or really a year and a half ago, if we were having this conversation, we were only wholesaling like one out of every 10 properties.
Oh man.
Yeah, we were either keeping or flipping 90%. So, and doing some developments too, which take longer time. But it really all starts with finding the deal. And then what you do with that deal really just depends on the market conditions and like, are things going up, down? What are people buying? What do people want? That kind of thing.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. I don't even need to ask you a follow up question for that. That makes perfect sense. So now we're going to end into not so speed round. I'm going to ask you a few questions. You can give me a long winded answer or a short one. It doesn't really matter. 4 words that describe a real estate investor.
4 words. Um, Consistency, tenacity, um, humble,
Mhm.
um, emotionally intelligent.
I'm gonna need you to expound on the humble and the emotionally intelligent. Why does that make someone a great real estate investor? Those two qualities.
Yeah, so you think real estate, just like other markets, right? But real estate more so, can turn pretty fast in different directions, and you just have to be humble that not everything you look at or touch is a deal, and you have to
Mm,
be picky about that, and you have to not look for the easy win all the
mm,
time because most of them are base hits. They're not grand slams. And it's just really about stacking those base hits over and over and over. If you start looking for grand slams every single week, every single month, you're going to get yourself in a bad situation. Like you're going to buy some bad deals, you're going to make some promises that you can't keep, that kind of thing. So staying humble with the process and really falling in love with the process of finding deals is what's going to get you to wherever you want to be. Um,
I love that.
yeah,
I love that when you said everything is not a grand slam, because a lot of people, like you said, on social media, they only post a huge win. So you're like, oh my God, every day I'm gonna make $3,000 on wholesale it. When it's like
yeah,
the average thing is like probably 10 to 15,000. But it's like
yeah.
it's definitely interesting. Social media is a blessing and a curse.
Oh,
um,
absolutely. And I think emotional intelligence too, like that's really just a sales skill. As someone that didn't even know what sales was, it's really just uh, providing someone with a solution that they may or may not know that they need to a problem. And
hmm,
we do the same thing when we talk about finding deals. What we really mean is finding a homeowner in some kind of distress that has a problem that we can now solve. In exchange for that, solving that problem, we buy the property at a discount. So it's like a hoarder, someone that's about to lose their home to the bank in foreclosure, someone that's got a bunch of medical bills they can't pay off, credit card debt, an inherited property from a loved one that passed away. Like there's a huge list of people that have problems with properties where you can go in and ask them questions. And if you're emotionally intelligent and ask the right questions and listen to their situation, you can figure out what their problem is and you can figure out how you might be able to help them solve it.
definitely. I love it. I love it. What's a profession that you would think real estate investing is most like?
Mm, I think it's like sports. I think it's like athletics. I think it's like uh, a lot of people on our team are either from the military or have a sports background because it teaches you to fail often.
Mm,
And that's the truth. Like, if someone can, I don't really, even for someone to join our team or apply for a job with us, because we're always hiring, I don't even look for real estate experience. Like it's a plus, but it's not mandatory. We don't care if you have any kind of experience. What we do care about is have you failed? How often have you failed? And what did you learn from it? And like if
mm,
someone has those qualities, that's something that we call in our company scar tissue. Like if you got scar tissue, chances are high that we want to work with you or we'll give you a shot because it's just like sports. Like things don't go your way all the time. There's a lot of work that goes into it every single year that people don't see. And then sometimes you can't totally control the outcome, you know? But that's the way it is. And it's a team sport too. So working with a team and other people and working towards how can I add this person value? Um, you know, there's just so many parallels with sports and real estate investing.
I love it. I love that scar tissue analogy. I've never heard it before, but it makes sense. Like I actually work in tech sales now, and it's like corporate sales is vastly different than like entrepreneurial sales, and it's crazy because like they wouldn't they wouldn't like I guess my company I'm wearing it right now, but I won't say their name, but they wouldn't look for that, even though that's like one of the best qualities that a salesperson should have. It's crazy.
100%. Yeah, yeah. It's funny, like the people that haven't worked out, that have a job with us, a lot of times they're the most tenured, they got the best resume, they got years of sales experience, but then they get in the role and they're comfortable and like they don't
Mm,
perform to their highest ability because they just really just want to cash in a paycheck and go home. And for us, because we're not a big company yet, like I think we've got 14 or 15 employees now.
mm,
It's a startup environment. Like you can't just coast. There's not room in our budget and with our time to train you too for you to just coast. Like we want people that are hungry, that want to earn 150, 200, 250K with us first year. Like
yeah,
those are the kind of people that we want in our company. We don't want the people that are, you know, hey, I'm okay earning 70, 65K and then have my 9 to 5 and go home.
yeah,
So it's just a difference
yeah.
in the type of person.
I can tell you, they're used to getting that high base salary in tech, and then they they go to your environment. They're like, okay, well, I'm making a decent amount. I can just sit here for 20 hours a week and just not not do
Yeah,
anything.
exactly. Yeah.
What would the world look like if real estate investing didn't like if I guess if you didn't have the ability to invest in real estate, what would the world look like?
I mean, it looked a lot like communism. Like if
Mm,
you look at how Russia, China, some of these Asian countries operate. Um, Everything's run down. Everyone, there's the gap between, like, there's really no middle class at all.
mhm.
There's a select few that are really wealthy that basically corrupt everyone and take advantage of everyone. And then everyone else is just poor. So, um, yeah, it'd look a lot like communism. I think we have that in the world today. So, it would not be good. There would not be there would not be near as many opportunities for people, jobs for people. Um, Wealth would just go to a select few. You wouldn't be able to achieve the true American dream, which is controlling your own destiny and really building that life that you want for yourself to be able to do whatever it is you want to do.
Definitely, I 100% agree. We had to say this. I was saying, well, I know. Oh, we didn't highlight on that. I know you live. Oh, we should have talked about that. I forgot, man. How you
Oh, we
live
can
over?
talk about it. We can talk
Yeah.
about it.
So yeah, I want to go right into that.
Let's do it.
Ryan, I'm gonna let Ryan say it, but Ryan actually lives overseas. He doesn't even live in the
Yes.
United States right now, and he runs his business. Please talk about that transition because I myself, I actually want to move to Southeast Asia and hopefully like 10 years. So please talk about like what made you transition over there, how it's been running your business, and then like why you made the move. Honestly.
Yeah. Well, before I do that, can I ask you a question? You said 7 to 10 years. Why 7 to 10 years?
Okay, good question. And you're about 22nd interview, and you're the only person that's ever asked a question. So I like that. But I say 7 to 10. I just got married this year. I actually have a goal. I'm gonna turn my little screen. I actually have goals on a whiteboard, and I want to be making a certain amount of money by 2025, and have like certain amount of reoccurring cash flow by a certain year. So it's like I planned it out. I'm not as finite as you on my goal list, but I know my businesses will be established. I'm not a full time entrepreneur yet. I'm part time, I guess, a full time effort, but part time in like I guess the ambiance, whatever. But yeah, I guess that's just the time. And then honestly, I need to go there first to really see if I want to live there. I've researched it a lot, but I don't know if it's like how it is living there. If that makes sense.
Yeah, well, first of all, I love that you've actually taken the action to define define that out. Like that what you did is more than what 99% of people do. So you're already like ahead there and it'll become more granular over time when you figure out like yes, I want this or no, I want this. The nice thing about Southeast Asia in particular, or did you have a country in mind?
I didn't have a country in mind. I know I may be going to Japan, which is not obviously not South Asia, but I'm going there. I may go there next year. But
Oh,
I was thinking of taking like a little detour in a couple countries over there to see which one I liked or resonated
okay.
with.
Um, Thailand and Vietnam are two of my favorites, and they're dirt cheap, especially
Mm,
Thailand. Like you can, like a 5-star hotel there is like $120 a night. So
Goodness.
a beer is like $2. So you can live like a king there without a ton of um, wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And with everything being virtual now, which I'll talk about in a second, with me being in London, it's not as far fetched as you might think. Some of my other places in Asia, Japan is super cool. South Korea, I really like.
Okay.
Um, Not a huge fan of Taiwan. I spent a lot of time there with work. It's just kind of gross and overcrowded. I've
Mm.
never been to China. Um, Cambodia is pretty cool, but there's a
Okay.
lot to see in Asia. So yeah. Let me know before you go, and I'll
I, I will. I will. Yes, sir.
yeah, we can talk about that. But
Definitely.
no, about the London thing. So again, this started with defining like what we wanted, and my wife has always wanted to live in London. It's her favorite city in the world. She's got a couple friends here, and so a couple of years ago, we made a plan together to get her on with a company that would promise to move her over. So
Mm.
she got on a 5-year visa, and it actually happened, right? And that's what's so cool about planning shit with intention. If you put in the action, it actually happens. And that's exactly what happened. So for me, I wanted to design my business. Like I started the off market deal finding. I was in San Diego, but my market's in Idaho, Boise.
Okay.
And so I started everything virtual because I was big on travel and I was big on location. I wanted to have that freedom to be wherever the heck I wanted, whenever, because that was a big thing for me. Because I was like, I want to go travel and live other places and do other cool things. And so that's exactly how I built it, with the end in mind. So yes, we moved to London about a year ago, and uh, it hasn't been easy, right? Like you make a lot of sacrifices. Um, right when we moved over, they started raising interest rates,
Mm.
and the real estate environment got a little different. And so I had this rosy view of, well, I'm going to work into the evenings, like maybe 3 nights a week. And then the other 4 nights, I'll just be on London time, just, working half days or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's where the expectation thing will get you, right?
Yeah.
And so I got humbled real quick because the market started changing, and then it was like all hands on deck. So
Mm.
that's the sacrifices you make to live the life you want, right? So the
Definitely.
alternative was me being like, no, I could never do that. That just sounds too hard. And then I just stay doing whatever I was doing. That's so dumb. Like I don't want to live my life with any regrets like that. I want to go try stuff and do stuff. If I don't like it, like nothing's keeping us here. So
Yeah.
if we didn't like it, which we do love it because of all the cool things we get to try, culture we get to experience, like all the travel we get to do in Europe around here. I mean, there's so many more positives than there are negatives, but I'm just saying like it goes for anything in life. Like just go try it and do it and see if you like it.
Definitely. I love it. That's like one thing I like. It's like that's the one problem I have. Like I guess not Americans in general. It's just a general statement I can make, but it's like Americans like, and it may be. I haven't been out of the country that many. I only been out of the country twice. I've been to Mexico and I've been to Jamaica. But like Americans think that like only America exists, and it's like Russia's bad, China's evil. Like and I mean they could be in some people's minds. Like, I'm sure they
Yeah.
are in some people's minds, but it's like there is so much more to offer around us, and it's like people really don't take advantage of that at all.
Yeah, 100%. I think that that's probably an accurate American stereotype, right? But I think if you just leave that at surface level, like, oh, Americans aren't well traveled or aren't cultured, like you really have to ask the question, well, why is that? Um,
Mm,
I have I have some thoughts around that. I mean, for one, America's huge, and
yeah,
like it offers, you can get into Miami and have the Cuban, Puerto Rico, Latino vibe and really nice weather, but it's also humid. Or you can go to like, I don't know, Seattle, Washington. You can like, and
yeah,
everything in between. You got mountains, beaches, you got glaciers, you got like national parks. So for most people, like traveling in the US is no different geographically than like traveling in Europe. But the difference is each state is its own country in Europe, right? And so
Gotcha.
they're just like naturally exposed to more cultures
That
in
makes
Europe,
sense.
and so it's kind of I don't think people go out of their way to be like, oh, I don't want to travel to places. It's more like, oh, well, we haven't seen this. It's more convenient and cheaper for us to do that because we're Americans and it's right over there and we can just drive there. So let's go do that. You know what I mean?
Very true. That's very true. You're right. You're right. You're right. 100%. It's crazy. I don't know, but I feel like it's like in the black community, I guess the African American community. My father, he's disabled now, but he's from New York. My dad has been to like 3 states. He's never like he lived in Brooklyn. He's lived in North Carolina. Then like he went to Florida. Like he's never been anywhere else. Like and it's like he never wanted to either. And it's like that's one little he's a great father, but that's one little qualm I have with him. He never wanted like more. And it's
Right.
like me, I want to see everything. I'm like the world is too, the world is it's big, but it's like small in the same in some sense to me. I don't know why. But
Yeah. Well, and that's because you want to go experience new things outside of your bubble, right? And so the half the battle there is knowing, because
mm,
if somebody doesn't even know what they're missing out on, then they're never going to go try it. It's just
very
like
true.
if I had never gotten fired from my first engineering job, I don't know where I would be right now. I don't think I'd be doing this, or at least it would have taken me a lot longer to do it. So if somebody has never been exposed to being outside of the country or whatever, how are they going to know what they're missing out on besides whatever the media and news tells them? So that's a really big thing, especially if you're from small town America, that you're just like you don't know because you don't know. Nobody showed you, or nobody's opened your eyes or broadened your mind on the benefits of seeing other cultures and seeing how the rest of the world views Americans and views themselves. So
Very true. You're right. You're right. This has been a great conversation. I have four more questions for you. Four
let's
more.
do it.
What's the worst stigma associated with real estate?
That you need money to do it.
I love that. I love it. I love it. I'm not going to talk about it because I want you to plug in your course later. At the end of the course, I don't want you to talk about it. They can find out from you. Are you underpaid or overpaid as a real estate investor?
I'm properly paid. So
Mm,
if you subscribe to the Go Giver, which I also highly recommend as a book, you get compensated equal to the value that you bring. Period.
mm,
So if you're bringing massive value, then that's what you get paid. If you're not bringing much value, then that's what you get paid. So now, if you're in a corporate world, it doesn't really work like that because they tell you what you get paid and you're exchanging time for money. But when you're starting your business or you're in real estate or anything else, entrepreneurial, you get compensated equal to the value that you bring in the marketplace. I think the problem is most people start giving value, giving value, and then they expect like after 3 or 6 months of giving value, they're all of a sudden going to make six figures. Like it doesn't
mm.
work like that.
Yeah.
Like after 3 to 6 years of giving value, then you can make six figures or more. And then it's like exponentially high, your wealth creation. So it's like it's really slow in the beginning. And then it just ramps up crazy quick when you have a little bit of momentum and a few properties under your belt. So
I agree with you. And I think I lost my train of thought, but there's something you said that stuck out to me. I'll highlight it if I think about it. What's one person, book, not the book that you mentioned earlier? So, what's one person, book, or event that changed the trajectory of your life?
mm, um, man, person or event that changed your trajectory. Boy, there's a lot. Well, I already talked about getting let go from my job. That's a
Yeah.
big one. Um, I think in sports, so I'll go here. So I played college football at a
Okay.
small D2 engineering school in Colorado, Colorado School of Mines. And
Okay.
going into my junior year, I had double hip labrum surgery. Um,
What?
and so I got both of my hips done. And then I came back for senior year. And then in the third game, I just fractured my wrist. And so I was done. And
Goodness.
it really put in perspective to me, like, the value in just giving it your all and letting, like, I didn't have any control over any of that, right? But after my double hip labrums, I could have just cashed it in and been like, you know what, that man, there's a lot of risk there. That rehab is going to be 10 months. I got to get one done, rehab it, then I got to get the other one done, rehab it. And being in a dark place too, while that is going on, and wondering, like, are they going to work okay? Like, am I going to have hip pain the rest of my life? Like, all these thoughts of self-doubt and fears. To go ahead and rehab all of that and get back to the place that I wanted to be, and then have something happen that was completely out of my control, was a really good life lesson for me to learn at that time. Like, to have come to have a big setback, work all the way up from that, and then to just like get cut down again was such a good thing for me to. I know it's crazy but that's the truth. Like, that
Yeah.
taught me resilience. And so when I lost my job out of college, or that first job, like, I already had a little bit of, I had a little bit of grit. I had a little bit of scar tissue because I had been through something pretty challenging before. And so, people go through various degrees of that, their loved ones dying, or people get cancer, or, bad things happen, car accidents, whatever. But like, if I didn't have that experience, then I wouldn't have been prepared for the next thing. And then I would have been prepared to fail in my business multiple times, multiple times, multiple times. So it's like, it's really just, and maybe I'm just wired differently, but I go out and I seek failure as much as I possibly can, because I know that the most growth comes from failure.
Very true. I mean, I could talk to you for hours. I really could, because it's very true. I have a lot of friends now because I'm like the entrepreneur in my group, and I'm thinking while you're speaking, I'm listening to you, but like I'm still thinking what you said earlier about evolving your friend groups, because I'm like the only entrepreneur in my friend group, or one of them, and a lot of my friends come to me for business advice because I had some success in some of my businesses, and like it's like they always like, oh, Will, should do this, should do this, should do this, and I'm like, just do something, and you're probably not. People get lucky, so you might get lucky, you might win, but you're probably going to fail, but you're going to learn from that failure. Just like you said about the datings, it's really just a number of bats. Like, just go and you learn from it, you apply it to this business, then you learn from it, you fail. It's a cycle, and like if you stop failing, you're probably going to stop growing too
Yeah.
at a certain aspect.
Well, I think, to your point, like, that's so true. The people that get lucky right away, it's actually less fortunate. Like, I know that
Mm.
feels like, in them, oh wow, they got lucky. They're wow, that's great for them, and they're on their way. At some point in that journey, they're going to have a bigger setback because they didn't have one early on. Something's going to get missed. Something's going to happen that's out of their control, and it's going to be an even bigger setback because they didn't know how to deal with it. Right?
Mm.
Like,
Very true.
I'll give you a really real personal example. In our business the last year, we took on, like I said, we were flipping or keeping 9 out of every 10 properties. And so when the market changed and they started jacking up interest rates, the Boise market went down from its peak like 28% on price. So
Goodness.
we were left with a lot of flips that all of a sudden we're going to lose a significant amount of money on, right? And
Yeah.
so that's a moment where we pivoted to wholesaling and doing a lot more creative finance deals to then keep the revenue coming in and make up for some of those losses. But like,
Mhm.
if I had had a good market and gotten lucky for the first 5 to 10 years, and then had 60 flips going on at one time when that happened, can you see where I'm going with that? Like,
Yeah.
it's good.
Underwater.
Yeah, it's good that happened early on. So
Yeah.
I, I can't stress that enough. Like, I think the lucky ones, it feels good in the moment, but they're actually at a disadvantage.
Definitely. I love your example. I'm really big on Twitter, and there's like a new phenomenon called bow ties, like people that like anonymously like talk about their life. And there's a dude called Bow Tied Broke, and he had kind of the same thing. He had like, I think he said he had like 200 properties, and like all of them when he lost everything. And now he's a developer, I think in Tennessee, but he went into detail about that. He got divorced. He like literally, I think he lost everything. He lost everything. But like you said, you're prepared for really all markets because it runs in cycles. So you're prepared for all market cycles. The last question, Ryan, is let's say a young Will, 18 years old, comes to you and he says, "I want to learn about real estate investing. I'm gonna do my first deal." What do you tell him, or how does he get his first real estate deal?
I think go find who is doing exactly what you want to do or what you think that you want to be, and go work for them for free and give value to them for free. And
Okay.
do that for as long as you can. And I know that sounds like most people that are going to listen to this are going to be like, what the heck? That sounds absolutely stupid and ridiculous. What they don't understand is skills and knowledge are what make money. It's not trading your time for money. And when you go to someone who's doing 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times where you want to be, and you offer them value and give them value first, you think that person's going to want to spend time with you?
Yeah,
Yes. You think you're going to learn a crap load of information that probably would have taken you a whole decade to figure out on your own? Yes.
definitely.
So um, I'm not saying you need to do that forever, but man, that is a great way to get into someone's ear at a really high level. And this isn't, hey, can you go, let's go get coffee or lunch and let me pick your brain. Like that is the wrong thing to do. It's, hey, I want to be like you. I've seen what you're doing. I want to add value to you. What do you need help with in your business? I noticed these are kind of the things you do. Maybe I could go do this for you for a while.
Mhm.
And then after you do that for a while, then it's, hey, let's go get lunch. And then
Okay.
let me ask you questions. And I'm telling you, like if you latch on to that's exactly what I did. So I looked at who is the top person, the top wholesaler, the top deal finder in the Boise, Idaho area. And I was just like sending him, I was drumming up deals and I was sending him the first few. Like, hey man,
Mhm.
like here's a deal for you. Like, and then I felt okay with asking him a ton of questions after, because and then guess what, we're still doing deals today and we have a great business relationship and we're doing huge developments together and a whole bunch of awesome stuff. But that relationship would have never happened because most people just go for that easy, let me pick your brain and let me get you coffee or whatever.
That's really big, and that's like that might have been one. You dropped a lot of gems this episode, but that may have been the biggest one. But sadly, most people will not listen to it, and they won't do it. It's because people value money over knowledge when like knowledge and value brings you money.
100%. So let me give you an example of something that's really that someone could do for us in our business.
Hmm.
If you drive Uber or Lyft, and let's say you got a daytime job, because let's get real, what 18-year-olds can just work for free and not make
Yeah.
ends meet? Okay. So go work your daytime job. When you get off, go drive Uber or Lyft for an hour and a half. And while you're out driving, go write down the addresses of any distressed properties that you see with like holes in the roof or paint peeling or overgrown weeds or junk cars in the driveway, whatever, something that looks, wow, this something's going on with this property, and send those addresses to someone like me or someone like that's in the real estate profession, as those are called driving for dollars leads.
Yeah,
And those are really valuable because then we can contact those owners and be like, hey, what's going on? How can we help? And we might be able to actually buy that property at a discount. But that's something that you can do. You're already making money driving for Uber and Lyft. You're just on your way to drop somebody off or on your way to pick up the next person. You're just driving kind of slow, looking at the addresses, writing some stuff down. That's something that anyone can do over the course of a couple months, and provide that kind of value to somebody, even if it's just for an hour a day, right? Like so that's something that everybody can do.
definitely. I love that. I love
Yep.
that. Driving for dollars. That's how I started. Literally, it's literally how I started. Me and my dad would do it.
Yeah.
I love it. I want you before we go. I want you to just plug in your coaching business and just talk about that, and then how people can reach you on social media.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's at Weimer Investments on Instagram. And then I also have a website, weimerinvestments.com, and a YouTube page at Weimer Investments. The coaching business is really all about how to scale yourself from solopreneur into a full business that runs itself without you. So right now I'm only taking on private clients. But if you want to apply to that, go ahead and shoot me a DM. Probably Instagram is the best way to do it at Weimer Investments, or just follow me. If you guys get value, just like and subscribe and comment and interact on there. I try to provide as much value as I can, free value as possible, because the truth is, if you're just starting out, most of the material that you need to get started is free on YouTube and free on podcasts like this. You really only need the coaching and mentorship after you've done a few deals by yourself, so you understand what's going on. All your money's going towards marketing, and then you can invest in coaching or mentorship or masterminds and things like that. So my coaching business is Weimer Investments, and it is application or invite only. So if you want to fill out an application, just shoot me a DM for that. And yeah, we'll get you from doing a deal a month to 5, 6, 7 deals a month and change your life.
Definitely, 100%. I have been following Ryan for I think 3 years now, and he definitely. I follow a lot of like I wouldn't say wholesalers because, like you said, it's an exit strategy, but a lot of real estate investors, and he is definitely in the top percentile who actually gets value, not just folks sitting. Oh yeah, I did a deal. So it's helpful, and I actually learned how to wholesale, like Ryan said, from YouTube. So it's like it's there's a lot of. And then I went to Steve Training and I met Ryan in a mentorship class. So like what he's saying is 100% true. You can learn everything you need to do from like YouTube, from blogs, and then you go to him after you've done a couple of deals, and he'll definitely help your business scale. Ryan, I really appreciate you. We've been on here for an hour. I thank you for your time.
Yeah,
The
let me say one
jewel.
thing
Wait,
in
sir.
closing,
Yes, sir.
if that's okay.
Yes, sir.
Even if you're not in real estate, or even if you're not doing multiple deals or whatever, and you are 18, or you're like in between in life, or you're not even involved in real estate or whatever, shoot me a message on Instagram and ask me for help and describe your situation and tell me what's going on. I can help you. It doesn't need to be a coaching program. It can be for free. Like, just come to me with questions and I'll make sure they get answered, and I help you guys out.
Definitely. We appreciate that. You'll definitely get some messages. I have a lot of friends that are interested in real estate. So we thank you again for your time, your expertise. We'll definitely have you back on again in the future, so we can go like a deeper dive into the different methods of real estate that you leverage in your business today. But thank you for your time, Ryan. I hope you have a great night. Enjoy the rest of enjoy the late London night, and thank you all for joining us on Unknown Options. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and follow all of Ryan's socials that he said earlier. Thank you, Ryan.
Awesome.